not try anything you are about to see at home.
Well, there's your problem.
In this special series of MythBusters,
Almost too exciting.
the Dream Team tackles their dream themes.
It's scientific!
Testing myths about everything from electricity to pressure and gravity.
This one hurt a bit.
Shaking down the science of shockwaves, velocity, and impact. With crazy chemistry,
Oh my goodness.
far-out physics,
Fun for the whole family.
and insane explosions.
Everybody okay?
Life's burning questions answered. On MythBusters, there's your problem. In this episode, the MythBusters go loco for motion as they explore strange new ways of repurposing vehicles. Then they take a deeper dive into the physics of motion.
Hey!
First up, a hovercraft is heading into dangerous terrain.
So, landmines.
Yep. The myth is if you want to cross a minefield and you want to do it safely, which I assume you do, the vehicle of choice is a hovercraft.
You know, I don't think I've ever driven a hovercraft.
Especially over a minefield.
Supposedly, a hovercraft is perfect for safely traversing a minefield. Because it evenly distributes its weight on a cushion of air.
He's having way too much fun.
Yep, and they're also starting to get a feel for how 600 pounds of man and machine could possibly power through a minefield without mishap.
As far as operating this thing in a minefield, I think this is going to be kind of like operating a boat in a marina. Yeah! I think it can be done, but you have to plan ahead, and that's going to be the key.
That, my friends, is the sound of Jamie Hyneman being enthusiastic. I don't know about you, but I feel ready to drive this across a minefield.
Let's go make a minefield.
Let's do it.
Creating a test with one of the world's deadliest military devices is not something you step onto, lightly.
We obviously need mines to conduct our test. And out of this, I will produce a set of artificial mines. A mine is really effectively a scale. It will register a certain amount of pressure in order to tell it to blow up. A scale that says blow up when a person steps on it, like 150 pounds. Look at that! Or a truck, like 700 pounds. And the soul of our fake mines will be this little metal button. This is, in fact, a pressure transducer, and it will allow my fake mines to behave just like the real thing in every way, except for explosives.
While Adam makes the housing for a programmable pressure trigger, Jamie replaces the C4 with an air-powered mortar, designed to give off a safe, movie effect blast.
That right there is the tank, and we'll have a funnel on the end of it filled with stuff that's going to get shot up in the air. It's pretty simple and straightforward.
That's great.
Looks pretty good to me.
Meanwhile, Adam has a prototype pressure pad ready for demo.
So here is the function of our mine. We've got the body that is the casing, and we've got our pressure rod here. And down at the bottom is that little pressure transducer screwed into the bottom of our ABS pipe cap. And that will work just like a real thing.
And that means it's time for a montage to mass-produce 20 accurate and programmable landmines. With time suitably lapsed, they hit the bomb range, their home away from home, to lay out their landmines in a deadly $sign design to ensure that when the hovercraft crosses, it'll hit most of the mines.
Now, you may be wondering why we're doing all of this digging. That is a beautiful machine. Our mines are not autonomous mines, right? Because we actually have to wire them up to a system, allowing them to be switches for our air mortars. So, allow me to introduce you to our mines. Now it's got a paint job and a title and a wiring bus so that we can wire these mines to our central system, which will allow us to adjust the pressures they go off at and set off our mortars.
And laying their high-tech minefield is a mammoth undertaking.
I have to tell you, this is one of the more complicated builds we have ever embarked upon. We've spent a couple of days now digging, pressurizing, mining, mortaring, wiring, and testing, all to what end? To build a functional yet non-lethal minefield we can test with.
With the mines laid out and wired in, a test run without the designated locomotion machine. Cue the dead man walking.
Now, I could just walk out there and step on one, but where's the fun in that? I'm gonna walk this minefield blindfolded while being guided to doom by Mr. Heineman.
Don't worry, I'll watch your step.
Okay, arm the system.
System is armed.
From the control center, each mine is calibrated to go boom at 35 pounds of pressure. One light step, and Adam will feel the full force of a movie effect explosion.
Now bear to your right a little bit.
Oh! Oh!
It's okay. It's just a flesh wound.
The minefield is scarily accurate and completely safe.
Oh! Oh! Huh. There goes the leg.
Oh, you still got another one. Oh, you big baby.
I think I'm dead.
That's a successful systems test. Next, the team recalibrate the mines to an anti-vehicle setting. Before the hovercraft is sent into battle, Adam's Jeep, with fake plastic minigun, will be used as a comparative control.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
The Jeep weighs in at just over 3,000 pounds.
There goes one.
And 1/4 of its weight, 750 pounds, is focused through the relatively small contact area of each tire, easily setting off
Get my car dusty.
any of the mines they cross.
Now, in the case of the hovercraft, not all of its weight is concentrated into one small area. Well, that worked quite well, didn't it?
I guess now it's time for the hovercraft.
So the question here is that weight or that down pressure that it's exerting on the ground enough to set off one of these mines?
We're about to find out. With Jamie in the hot seat and a high-tech minefield rigged and ready to blow, can a hovercraft really float through an anti-vehicle minefield?
Oh, yeah. Here it comes. Oh, yeah! Yeah! You didn't set up a thing. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was smooth, explosion-free sailing.
Oh, yeah!
The S-curve layout ensured Jamie crossed a majority of the mines, but not a single one went boom.
Yeah! The hovercraft is distributing its weight across its entire footprint, across the entire cushion of air that it's riding on. That's why it can't set off our mines. That's why it is the perfect craft for making its way across a minefield.
It's time to ramp it up by taking the pressure setting down.
Our minefield is set to an anti-personnel pressure that is 35 pounds to trigger our mines.
Here we go.
Same thing, no mine action.
Yeah! That is awesome!
The mines, set to go off at the lightest footstep, are once again unmoved. Adam then does his best to linger with several 360s.
Yeah. Can you hold it in one spot?
But the hovercraft and its cushion of air defies death from below.
Woo! Come on. You know us. You know We're gonna take it to the most extreme place we can.
So we've set this to go off at 5 pounds. The Easter Bunny could set this off.
It's the ultimate test for this myth. The Heinemann and Hovercraft are 120 times heavier than each mine's threshold. But they once again float serenely across unharmed.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I love it.
So how does this work? Well, the answer's in the numbers. If you divide the weight of the hovercraft by the contact area, you get about 0.06 pounds per square inch of downward pressure. So there's not nearly enough pressure per square inch.
Well, I gotta say, I think this is about as easy a myth to call as we've ever encountered.
Yeah, it's confirmed.
Totally confirmed. The hovercraft is the absolute vehicle of choice for traversing a minefield.
Sure is.
I gotta figure out how to get myself one of these.
What? Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
How am I supposed to get out of this minefield?
Next up, an extreme rowing machine.
Are you having fun?
I am, but there is a point to it.
Which is?
Well, we've been gathering videos over the past few months of people purportedly doing incredible things using an excavator.
Like?
Well, we've got one in which a guy seems to be rowing a barge with one.
I can dig it.
I thought so.
The myth parameters are set. Can you generate momentum and maintain directional control of a barge using an excavator to row?
This is our barge. These are excavators, and behind me, the open water of the San Francisco Bay. Soon, we're gonna be dragged out into that water, and we're gonna have to get back using only these as our oars. Shall we put these guys in place?
I think so.
All right.
Basically, what we're going to be doing is rowing a boat, except that instead of wooden oars, we're going to be using these buckets. And instead of human power, we're going to be using diesels and hydraulics. Otherwise, it's the same. We lower them into the water, and we push, and hopefully we go forward. There are a number of problems that we're going to have to overcome, and the first and foremost one is current. If we have a lot of current or even a lot of wind, it's going to make our job really hard. Secondly, we've got to get our act together. I mean, Adam and I have to coordinate so that we're working in tandem to keep the barge on track.
I think we're ready.
It all comes down to technique. This is swing. This is up and down. This tapping your head and rubbing your belly kind of operation that we're not going to have a lot of time to figure out. We got to get out there, get stranded in the bay, and get in the zone.
In addition to the tricky logistics required to coordinate their giant mechanical oars, there's also a very real danger of going overboard.
We're not taking any chances. We're going to actually weld these excavators to the deck of the barge, because once we start swinging back and forth, we could swing ourselves right off the barge.
Even welded down, disaster is just one mistimed oar stroke away. Catch the barge with a bucket, and the excavator's weight and powerful hydraulics will easily snap those cables.
Hey, Adam, you want to do a little fist bump?
It's a nerve-wracking operation.
I'll be honest with you. When I swing my arm out over the water, I get that whingy feeling in my legs. But I swear, I think this is gonna work.
With no time to practice, it's time to put that prediction to the test.
Well, the tug's left. Are you ready?
All right, this is rowing with an excavator. Back towards shore. Here we go.
Adam and Jamie, positioned at the front of the barge, go to work. And initially, things look great. They successfully recreate a rowing action. The bucket is lowered, pulled back through the water, lifted out, and reset. However, simply going through the motions is not enough. They need forward momentum and control of the barge.
You might want to slow down a little bit so I can keep the bow pointed towards shore more.
Despite the difficulties of communicating from their awkward vantage points,
Copy that.
teamwork enables them to orient the barge in the correct direction.
I'm going to start to reverse.
Copy.
But crucially, forward momentum eludes them.
Well, so far, the current is turning out to be a bit of a problem. I'm encouraged by the fact that we are able to control the direction of the barge, but we need more speed. We need more power.
I'm wondering if we don't need some kind of alignment like...
The Myth looks to be set adrift, but Adam and Jamie aren't giving up.
Well, our first attempt was a little bit of a bust. It's a flood tide here in the San Francisco Bay, which means the current's pushing us south into the bay, and it was too strong for us to overcome.
This time, their starting position is just outside the bay's central riptide. Cue test 2.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Once again, Adam and Jamie swing their giant diesel-powered oars into action.
Okay, and now you can come in.
Away from the grip of the rip, the teamwork and watertight communication pays off.
Copy.
Incredibly, incrementally, they begin to make progress.
I think we're getting it.
And a few minutes later, there's no doubt, they're rowing a barge with excavators.
It took us a little bit of time to get up to speed, to get our practice, to get our sea legs with the excavators, as it were. But once we did, we had actually a pretty fair measure of control over this barge, and it's not small.
Let's try one more shove towards the dock a little bit and then just let it drift.
Even from our really disadvantaged vantage points, we were able to see what the other was doing and intuit what was necessary, and that made this successful.
Hey, Jamie, I think we made it, baby.
Well, it wasn't a picture-perfect landing at the dock, but we got within a few feet of it, which is not bad.
Nice work there, partner.
Yeah, so I guess that means you can, in fact, row with these things.
In a pinch? Yes, you can.
Next, an aquatic two-wheeled tall tale. And this myth is more than a little loco.
Now, the myth here is that you can't ride a bike underwater. And on the face of it, I can see there might be some problems, mainly surrounding the fact that water is so much more dense than air is.
That was a satisfying thud.
Now, this is going to mean that it's a lot harder to move through it, and relatively speaking, your weight underwater is a lot less than it is above water, and so you may have stability or traction problems. That's what we're here to find out.
It's a classic physics class conundrum.
Now, one of the things that makes riding a bicycle above the water possible is that the forward momentum of the bicycle helps keep you upright. Now, forward momentum is going to come at quite a premium underwater, where I don't expect to ever be able to even go this fast. What is that going to do to my balance? I'm not exactly sure, but I expect it's going to make things a lot more difficult.
There's only one way to find out. The guys dive in the deep end for science.
You ready?
Go for it. Now, to ride a bike underwater, the wheels are going to have to contact the ground. So if he's floating, that's not riding a bike.
So far, so good.
Yeah, you're propelling yourself, aren't you?
I am propelling myself, and the wheels aren't spinning.
It's so far so good. But riding a bike half underwater is only half riding a bike underwater. To test the myth, Adam's got to submerge.
And there he goes.
And there he doesn't.
His front wheel's no longer rolling. He's wheeling, actually.
For that test, riding a bike halfway submerged in the water, a lot easier than I thought it would be. But once I got fully underwater, it was, well, just as impossible as the myth would suggest. But we've got a couple of other things to try before we call it just yet.
What do you need?
Well, I think I need more weight.
Adam's theory on his failure is his buoyancy. To counteract that, he needs more mass. Enough so that he can keep in contact with the ground.
That's about 50 extra pounds.
And this time he's buying more time below the surface with a scuba tank.
You ready?
You bet.
All right, here we go. Ride a bike underwater.
So, can Adam do a lap of the pool on a bicycle underwater? That's the benchmark the guys have set themselves for a myth-busting result. Going downhill, it all seems to be working.
Moving along like a charm.
But it's deceptive. After he turns to come back, his problems become apparent. A lack of traction means the back wheel freewheels, and that means Adam's going down.
So while I was sort of moving myself forward, it really couldn't be called riding a bike. It was more like semi-controlled floating. Second of all, while I was able to go downhill, there was no way I was able to get back up. Well, we've yet to achieve anything that I would call riding a bike underwater.
But Jamie has a weighty theory and thinks he can fix the physics.
The big problem here is traction. And to me, that means that we need more weight. A lot more weight. It might even be a couple 100 pounds.
Let's say we have a little underwater challenge, see who can officially ride a bike underwater.
A little race.
A little race.
Works for me.
Let's do it.
Back at the shop, Adam and Jamie went head-to-head and embarked on a top-secret bike build-off.
Don't tell Jamie. In order to get more traction, I'm gonna make my bike really heavy, but I've also filled the tires with corn syrup. I have no idea if this is gonna work, but it's funny.
Funny, and a solid scientific theory. The syrupy filling will spread the tires, providing more surface contact and more traction. He's also added 50 extra pounds of weight.
I think it's perfect.
But Jamie
A couple of lead training wheels.
took a more heavy-handed approach.
I've added 120 pounds of training wheels to the back of this bike and another 20 or so on the front. I think it's going to give me all the traction I need. I'm ready.
So they each have a mechanical solution they believe will give this myth its best shot.
The race starts here at the top of the ramp. As soon as I start the timer going, Jamie dives straight into the water. The moment he crosses the finish line, I wave the checkered flag and tell him it's time. Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Then it'll be my turn.
So they're all set for the Tour de Pool,
Go.
a uniquely MythBusterish event.
Most peculiar start to any race ever. I like watching the top of his bald head disappear into the water. He's coasting downhill. 165 pounds of bike, 180 pounds of Heinemann. This is where we ran into trouble last time we were in this pool. Going back up. The whole design of his bike is about getting him back up the hill, giving him enough traction.
But all the extra mass doesn't seem to be aiding Jamie's cause. In fact, it seems to be more of a 160-pound hindrance than help.
It may just be too much weight for him to get up that slope.
Jamie was hoping the downforce from the additional weight would help maintain contact with the ground. It's a marginal improvement, but not enough to escape the deep end. And in the end, he has to use his feet to get to the top.
It's a little Heinemann that could. Inch by inch.
And in a burst of slow, Jamie finishes and delivers his verdict.
That was absurd. This was far worse than the unmodified bike. You know, more weight is harder to pull uphill. It still didn't have perfect traction.
In conclusion, more mass counteracts the buoyancy, but the drag is a drag.
2, 1, go.
Question is, can Adam complete his lap?
There he goes. So far, so good. Well, I can tell already he looks like he's doing a lot better than I was. And here comes the hard part.
King of the mountain, he's not.
And he's having the same problems.
Maybe if he could hear Jamie's encouragement, he might do better.
Oh, down he goes. Boy, that makes me feel a lot better.
The good news is, the mods I made on this bike are a radical improvement over the unmodified bike. The soft tires and more weight made this bike have much better traction. However, I was not able, even with those improvements, to get out of the deep end under any circumstances.
In other words, we've both failed.
But the good news is we have this idiomatic phrase that we can now answer: is riding a bicycle underwater impossible?
No, it's not.
No, I think on a flat with a very shallow grade, it's totally feasible, and both of us were able to do it.
And that means the myth is busted.
Totally busted, but so is our ability to ride uphill underwater.
And we ruined a couple of perfectly good bikes.
It's all in the name of science. Let's get out of here.
From one preposterous premise to a slightly more plausible one. Next, Adam and Jamie are pondering the physics of driving a car into the back of a moving truck.
I want to know if that's really possible, or if when your 60-mile-an-hour drive wheel hits that ramp, boo, launches you right into the container.
Well, wear your seatbelt.
I will.
The idea, popularized by a 1980s TV show, is that a moving car can drive up a ramp into a moving truck. But in real life, once you hit the ramp, wouldn't you suddenly accelerate and catapult yourself through the cabin? Before going big, they'll go small to test the physics.
Yeah, look at that.
Jamie vandalizes a treadmill to replicate the rolling surface of the highway. Ingenious.
The treadmill here represents the road surface. We have a miniature representation of a truck. We have a miniature car. So the main thing that we're looking for here is what happens when the car makes a transition fully from the road surface onto the truck.
Their main worry? That the moment of transition will create a velocity differential that will cause the car to career out of control.
There you go.
No need for practice. In a break with MythBuster tradition, there was first-time success with a small-scale test.
We've been thinking that the moment those back wheels traveling at this speed hit this ramp, that car goes fa-ching.
The high-speed camera confirms there's no fra-ching factor. The RC car slid into the trailer as smooth as you like. And even without brakes, its entry was slow enough to prevent a serious fender bender with the back wall of the big rig.
So, I don't know about you, but the small-scale experiment really gave me a lot of confidence that this might actually be possible.
Yeah, and when you think about it, you know, the car's got a lot of inertia, and for this to crash into the back of the semi, it'd have to all of a sudden be going, you know, twice as fast as it was. It's got to really accelerate.
Time to ramp it up to full scale. They've got a big rig, a 1980s car, and they've made their own ramp.
And not an inch to spare. The ramp seems like it's perfect. It seems to be just long enough to do the job and not really hit much on the car. So I think we're good to go.
But they won't be sending it from the get-go. The first run will be a little bit driving Miss Daisy.
We're hoping to get up to highway speeds, but we're going to start slow. 30, 35 miles an hour is what the first test is going to be at. And if that works, then we go to 55.
So Adam, the human guinea pig, suits up for the 35-mile-an-hour run. And with just one successful bench test and a 1980s TV show to go on, they're taking no chances with safety.
There's still a lot that can go wrong, which is why we've done a bunch of safety procedures to make this as safe as possible. One, we've added a roll cage into this car. Two, we've added a 5-point safety harness so that if I roll, I'm not going anywhere. And finally, I'm wearing a helmet.
This is it, test time.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
But just as they get underway, it starts raining, making the road and ramp slick. And the challenge, just that little bit tougher. Adam goes anyway, approaching his target speed.
We're at 35 miles an hour.
He takes his time getting in line. And with everyone holding their breath,
Okay, let's go for it.
Look at that.
Well done, well done.
the high-speed camera captures the crucial moment. As the wheels hit the ramp, they slow significantly, which is where the clever science bit comes in. Any object in motion has a tendency to maintain a constant velocity. This law of inertia acts against the acceleration of the car as it hits the stationary ramp, slowing the car to a crawl and giving Adam plenty of time to stop.
I feel like I'm ready to go to 60.
Well, let's make it 55. That's the legal speed limit, I think, on these things.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right.
Making it safely up that 6-foot gap at 55 miles per hour is a tougher proposition than 35, and the rain is coming down harder.
Let's do it.
Adam guns the engine and hits the speed ceiling quickly.
We're at 55 right now.
Holding steady at 55. Adam, bring it on. Be careful, brother. It's slick.
Look at that! Good job!
Once again, Adam made it look easy. The increased velocity didn't change a thing. The wheels hit the ramp, the car's inertia prevents any crazy acceleration, and Adam parks it.
Nice, Jen. Great job. Great. Awesome. Dude, that was scary.
Yeah, that was pretty, I was a little nervous there watching you do that.
With the myth confirmed, there's only one thing left to do. It's Jamie's turn.
This is Jamie. I'm good to go. Over.
And he's going to prove that whatever Adam can do,
Holding.
he can do backwards.
Nice work, Heinemann.
It always pays to have an exit strategy.
I don't know when I'm going to have a chance to use it next, but it's nice to know how to do.
Exactly. And the Knight Rider ramp drive up, totally confirmed.
It worked, confirmed.
In our next myth, Grant, Tori, and Carrie are pondering a different physics dilemma.
Let's say you're driving along in a car at X miles an hour. You throw something out the back in the opposite direction at the same speed. Does it just fall straight down?
Basically, what you're saying, does the forward momentum and the backward momentum cancel each other out completely?
Exactly. Or is there some other factor like air resistance that makes it impossible?
It makes sense that an object subjected to equal and opposite forces, forwards and backwards, would drop like a stone. But unless we can prove it in real life, this simple equation's no more than a theory.
So how are we going to test this one?
How about a pickup truck with a treadmill on the back? Pickup truck drives forward at 10 miles an hour, treadmill goes back at 10 miles an hour, and then one of us jumps on it.
By one of us, you mean Tori?
What? So this is to see if I just fall straight down or get flung off the back.
That's the idea.
Yeah, great idea.
They've got the treadmill, they've got the Tori. But Tori's not going to risk his skin until they've tested the method. See, Grant's got a hunch when a large weight is dropped on a treadmill, it'll slow down before regaining its speed. They turn the treadmill to 10 miles an hour, and the hunch proves true.
And it gets back up to 5.45 miles per hour. All right.
So to balance the forces, the truck on which the treadmill will be mounted should also move forward at 5.5 miles per hour. Okay, while they mount it to the car, let's use one of those four-way split screens so we can get to the fun part quicker. Ah, the smell of fresh country air and of sweaty, well-used padding.
Feel like a gladiator ready to be slaughtered.
For our control test, our truck is going to be stationary. Tori's going to drop onto the treadmill and then project off the end of the truck in a gentle arc.
Okay, so this is our control test. You ready?
I'm ready as I'm ever gonna be.
Okay.
Famous last words, as a telephone call disrupts the filming.
Insurance company said.
This is Brian. He's our director.
What's going on?
Okay, so this is unusual. We're just about to go for it, and our producer gets a phone call from the insurers. Apparently, this is way too dangerous for Tori to attempt, this uncontrollable fall. So, I think we're gonna have to go for the next best thing, which is...
A blow-up doll wearing overalls weighted with sand.
not bad for a stand-in Tori.
And because the stand-in weighs only a fraction of what Tori weighs, they can go at 10 miles per hour after all.
All right, here we go. 10 miles an hour. In 3, 2, 1.
Oh!
I am so glad that that wasn't you, man. So in our control test, stand-in Tori was thrown 6 feet away from the treadmill from a height of 3.5 feet. What this means is he didn't fall straight down, but that's not a surprise. Now it's time to move on.
Okay, this is the main test. I'm going to drive the pickup at 10 miles an hour while Tori throws his stand-in onto the treadmill right in front of the high-speed cameras.
All right, ready?
In 3, 2, 1.
It's a rare case when the team gets excited by a lack of spectacle.
So watch that point right there.
Oh, nice timing on the drop.
It pretty much drops straight down.
I mean, compared to our control test, it would have been out there.
Yeah.
Here, straight down.
That is really cool.
So there might be some merit to this myth.
Absolutely.
The morning's testing was a total success.
But this is MythBusters, and we just can't stop there.
No, we can't. The team needs to see if it also works at higher speeds. So they're building an air cannon designed to fire a soccer ball.
Oh, no!
Look at the ladder.
Yeah, we wrecked a ladder, and I think we killed the soccer ball.
340 miles per hour is good for wrecking ladders and soccer balls, but a little too fast for their test. So Grant winds the dial back a bit.
Ooh.
Yep, that looked like 60 miles an hour to me.
It's now back to the country to see if they can nail the myth. First, the control test with vehicle stationary.
That just doesn't get old, does it?
Flew off the scale before it even landed on the ground.
That's fantastic.
The ball clocked 60 miles an hour, so it's time for phase 2.
I'll be driving the pickup truck 60 miles per hour in that direction, while Grant is firing the cannon at 60 miles per hour in the other direction. We're ready on your go, Tori.
Hit it.
20, 30, 40, 50, 60.
And fire. Hey! That was a pretty good shot.
But the high speed reveals a problem.
It's not perfect. It's not the same results as the other one.
That's what I'm saying. This should drop straight down, not fly backwards.
It's agreed that either the car was too slow or the cannon too fast.
Just note to yourself, the speedometer was wrong. I was perfect.
Absolutely.
25 attempts later, they haven't come close to seeing the soccer ball drop like a stone. It could be the car, the cannon, or the myth that's at fault.
Okay, well, there's more than one way to fling a ball. Let's look into some other propulsion systems and figure out which one's the most reliable.
They'll set up 3 machines, including the air cannon, to see which is the most consistent shooter.
We have our official goal right here. Back here, we have the contenders. First off, we have the ball chucker. You're already familiar with the air cannon. And finally, we have our robot kicker. Consistency was a huge problem when we did our last test. So that's what we're testing now. Which one of these contraptions will be the most consistent at 60 miles an hour?
Let the best machine win.
First, Grant's robot ball kicker.
Wow.
That was a good kick. How fast did it go?
58 miles an hour.
Boom! Nice. We're in the ballpark.
And a series of kicks shows a deviation of just 3 miles an hour,
Now, moving on to the ball chucker.
which is also bang on target.
God, 59.
It's an impressive display, but there's still the air cannon to go.
Fire away!
The shootout is finished, and the result is a shock to everyone.
You know what? Out of all the machines, this one looks like it's the most consistent. Oh my gosh, after all that, we have to go back to the air cannon.
Yes.
Perhaps it was the speedometer that was faulty. To be sure, Carrie swaps it out with an incredibly accurate tachyometer.
This is it. We have eliminated all the variables. We have the cannon shooting at 60 miles an hour, the car driving at 60 miles an hour, just to show that this ball will drop straight down. It's go time.
With the forward and backward momentum matched as close as they're going to get it, the pressure's on Grant for a perfect release.
I don't know about you guys, but that looked pretty good to me. Let's check the high speed.
Oh my God, it's like a cartoon. It's just in the air, it stops and it just falls.
Look at that.
Fantastic.
I mean, look, it doesn't move at all. It's going straight down.
Dude.
Woo! We did it! We did it! Yeah! Vector edition! Yeah! We canceled out velocity. And we got a perfect straight down drop.
Ladies and gentlemen, the laws of physics are still hard at work.
Meaning the myth is 100% confirmed. Our final story mixes physics with a flight of fancy.
Here's the story. A guy's driving behind a big truck, and every time the big truck gets to a bridge, it stops, the driver of the truck gets out, bangs on the side, and then proceeds across the bridge. He runs into the truck driver at a gas station and says, "Why are you banging on the truck?" And the truck driver says, "Well, I got a load of birds, and they're over the weight limit of most of these local bridges. So whenever I get to one, I bang on the truck, they fly around, and my truck is lighter."
Clever.
So the myth for us is, if you're driving around with a truckload of birds and they take flight, is your truck lighter?
It's a question that has them pondering one of Newton's core physics laws. But how exactly are they going to test it? Well, first, our dynamic duo have to land some pigeons. When whistling doesn't work, Adam and Jamie try snares, nets, and snacks.
The birds will be too fat to fly.
But their pigeon stalking comes to zero, and they realize they need to call in a pigeon keeper.
Got you some pigeons.
Look at that.
So with the birds in hand, Adam's ready to begin small-scale testing.
I've got my bird flying chamber here. It's got a closed top. The bottom is a screen, which I can vibrate by plugging it into this battery. The whole thing is standing on top of a very sensitive scale. First thing I'm gonna do is turn on the scale, which will zero it out. Then I'm gonna put the birds in. I'm gonna see the birds weigh a certain amount. Then I'm gonna turn on the platform, which will vibrate. Hopefully they'll fly around, and we'll see if there's any difference.
So if the myth is true, when the pigeon gets some air, the combined weight of the chamber and bird will come down. Sounds simple.
Fly, fly, that's it, come on, fly.
Now, there's your problem. The bird just ain't flying.
I don't blame him. I mean, because it's not
He can
like...
barely get a full wingspan in there.
Yeah, you know, he's running into the sides.
Maybe we need to build a bigger chamber.
So plan B is a bigger chamber and better motivation to fly than a vibrating floor. What have you got, Jamie?
My current favorite is thinking about setting up a weed whacker like affair, and we could put like a half a dozen motors so that there's just it's just kind of whizzing around. I mean, I can't imagine this would hurt them. I mean, you could, it doesn't hurt you, right?
No.
For our animal-loving viewers, let's be clear. Adam's pain threshold is way below the pigeon's. So if Adam's okay, the bird will be too.
Freak me out, but it's not doing anything to him.
Come on, come on, come on, Max, come on, come on, come on.
That's pigeon for fly. But no matter what they do, this pigeon won't get airborne. Maybe we need a closer look at the physics. For a bird to fly, it needs to push the air beneath it hard enough to lift its own weight. And because that principle doesn't only apply to birds, Jamie and Adam have an idea. One that could give the pigeons a break.
Pigeons are what the myth is about, but pigeons sometimes don't do exactly what you want them to do. So we figure that a similar sort of a thing that might show the same phenomenon, if there is one, would be a little helicopter that we can control.
But it's not as simple as that. Flying a chopper in an enclosed space creates turbulence, making it hard to hover. So to run the bench test, Adam's built this rig, which will allow it to lift, but keep it centrally tethered at the same time.
Excellent, 52.0.
Adam has measured the weight difference of the container with and without the chopper. When the helicopter takes off, will the chamber get lighter?
Hey, we got lift off! Look at that!
The scale is not changing. I know that my helicopter weighs 0.6 of a pound. So if the myth was true, I should have seen that meter go from 52.5 or 6 to 52 flat.
Interesting. But until they prove it with real live birds, not a mechanical toy chopper, this myth isn't proven one way or the other.
We gotta try it in a truck or something close to it with the birds.
So it's full scale ahead. And after a MythBuster makeover, this trailer, standing in for the truck and the myth, will be full of flying birds for the final test weigh-in.
That's cool. You look like a little animal in a circus.
Final prep on the big rig begins, and the flight motivators go in first. These rotating foam tubes are supposed to keep the pigeons in the air.
There we go.
We have liftoff. They now need to catch a flock more birds, letting them loose in the trailer and accurately weigh them. Good luck with that.
We're not defeated by the task of catching pigeons. Even though it's not critical to this myth, it's a point of pride. We're gonna catch some pigeons with MythBusters invention.
It's the motto MythBusters live by. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing.
I think we're going to build something similar to a potato cannon of plumbing parts made into an air chamber with an electrically operated valve and manifold that spreads 4 tennis balls with this net between them around our unsuspecting pigeons.
3, 2, 1.
It works on Adam, but as we've seen, the pigeons around here are a lot smarter than the TV hosts. Shh, Jamie's hunting pigeon. All that flapping means the pigeon cannon is a flop. So the pigeon keeper gets another call, and once again, comes up trumps.
How many is that?
I think we got 36.
That ought to do it.
With the birds taken care of, Adam and Jamie can concentrate on setting up the final test.
This is a load cell. We're gonna put one under each corner, and as the trailer sits on this piece of metal will bend a little bit. That bend will be registered by a crystal on the side here, which will output a change in voltage through this wire that will be read by our computer and output as points on a graph over time.
And with the pigeons in position and not flying, the team have their starting weight.
Okay, so that's a difference of 11 pounds with the birds in place. I'll zero everything out to that, and that'll be our starting point, right?
So if the weight drops while the birds are flying, the myth is confirmed.
In 3, 2, 1, go. They're all flying.
It's beautiful. Most of them are flying. That's great.
All right, we're done.
Okay.
And stopping.
That worked better than I thought it would. They all flew for like a good maybe 15 seconds.
That's great.
And the high-speed camera captures the moment.
All the work we did is to get this shot that you could see them all flying and be weighing it all at the same time. It's just stunning.
Good job, you guys.
Nice work. Awesome.
But getting a truckload of birds to fly isn't the point. The question is, does the trailer get lighter?
So there's no difference when they were in the air.
No, but you can see minor fluctuations happening very quick. But
Well, what I see is the fluctuations have about the exact same amplitude both above and below the 0 point. I mean, it's a noisy signal, but here it's clear there's no difference.
yeah, that's great.
Dude, that is beautiful.
The MythBusters have proven that when the pigeons take flight, their weight on the floor is exactly replaced by the force of their wings pushing air downwards.
This is the final word because nobody else has ever gotten 20 birds flying simultaneously in a truck while weighing it every 10th of a second in your face. It's busted.
It's busted.